Brentford against Manchester United is live on talkSPORT, 12:30 lunchtime Saturday. Brian and Burma returning to the G-Tech. Manchester United looking to string together back-to-back victories after their win over Chelsea, but they haven't won in 7 away Premier League trips. Scott, how do they do this?
Well, I think they've got to carry on with the sort of same mentality that they had at Old Trafford. You know, you and I were at the game, and I just thought they played to the conditions, but they actually played on the front foot from the start. I mean, we've been saying a lot of people have criticised Ruben Amorim, and we've criticised him for sure. But if you look at each particular game, and the stats actually suggest that in terms of getting towards the box and getting shots, not necessarily on target, that they're right up there, if not number one, Manchester United. So I just think there's been periods of times in games where 30 minutes here, 45 minutes there. I thought they were very good and deserved to win, certainly after the first half performance against Chelsea. They just need to do that on a more regular basis. And Bruno Fernandes, you know, whatever we say about him, he's not a six, and he's really not. My goodness me, they need him in that side. He's just an absolutely superb player. And look, this is a great opportunity against a side that I still feel, if Keith gets them above the relegation zone, no matter how many places, he's done a great job. It's a great opportunity for United as well to get back-to-back victories.
Certainly is, and we talked about this quite a lot. And the Bruno Fernandes thing is really interesting because I maintain that if you play the system correctly and you have a player from that back three that wanders into midfield and pushes everybody up, then he moves into a more of an 8/10 position where he can influence the player, and he's much more useful for Manchester United. But the shot data and the XG created, for which they are number one in the Premier League, by the way, Manchester United, gives me confidence with them that they will have a better season than last year. Now, you might say that's not that difficult, but I think they'll finish top 10, top 8 because of the fact that the shot data will turn around eventually. You know, I know they haven't scored that many goals this season so far, but if you keep having those shots, you keep creating those chances, once Šeško is up to speed, surely it has to turn. Crook, are you still anticipating a top 5 finish?
Listen, let's not get carried away after one victory, because there have been so many false dawns for Manchester United.
I mean, I was being facetious, to be fair.
But it's an opportunity to put together a run of wins. Brentford away, followed by Sunderland at home before the international break. If they could win those two, and it's a big if because they don't tend to win back-to-back games these days, then I think the start to the campaign will take on a different complexion. Actually, the other stat that I found interesting is the fact that Opta say Manchester United have officially had the most difficult start to the season of any team in the Premier League. So because of that victory over Chelsea, all of a sudden it doesn't look too bad. Obviously, the Grimsby debacle in the Cup is still the anomaly, still the low ebb, but there are reasons to be positive. And as Scott has said, I think this is a real opportunity for United to put back-to-back wins on the board, and the feeling around Old Trafford will be a lot different then. The caveat is they've had issues at Brentford in the past. We remember that terrible day under Erik ten Hag, his second game in charge, when they got absolutely battered. I remember, was it last season, Mason Mount scored late in the game. You thought he'd won it, and Brentford went straight up the other end and equalised. So it's not been a happy hunting ground in recent seasons.
It's going to be a bit of an old school game. United the most accurate with long balls forward, and they will look to try and bypass any Brentford press. Brentford look to be a little bit more sort of aggressive in the middle, might go after the soft centre of Manchester United. It'd be interesting to see who comes into that midfield. They'll also chuck long throws in, long balls in. We've seen them do that already this season. They've got a good point at home against Chelsea. Who plays in that midfield? Because no Casemiro this weekend. Mainu be a candidate. Mount might be a candidate, but my favourite is Ugarte. Is that just not the most sensible replacement?
Depends who you talk to. I mean, I think it's been Amorim's go-to.
Well, I'm talking to you.
Well, I'd love to see Cobby get his opportunity, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it will probably be Ugarte, who for me is less dynamic. Mason Mount, I guess, would be an option. Is he going to be fit? I mean, he's never really fit, is he? So, yeah, I think it will probably be Ugarte in alongside Bruno Fernandes.
We're still yet to see Senna Lomans. Has Altay nailed down the number one spot for the season now, do you think, Scott? Why are you laughing?
Go on, Crookie.
Because he's rubbish. That's why. Oh dear,
But
oh
he's
dear.
been
Go on,
picked
Scott.
every single week. So,
Yeah.
is he the number one goalkeeper?
Look, it's a fair question, but I mean, it doesn't matter now. You can't turn back time, but how they didn't get or why they didn't get Donnarumma or Martinez, just that experienced position. We talked about how you win games in both boxes. Well, that's by having a great goalkeeper as well as having a very good goal scorer, and you need someone with experience. But they've gone down that route. What's the point of bringing in someone when Altay has been making all the mistakes he's been making, and yet you still keep him as the number one? You look like a bit of a laughing stock. But the thing is, then you're hoping that this youngster, clearly with a lot of talent, is able to handle something, wearing the Manchester United shirt that a lot of not just goalkeepers, but outfield players haven't been able to do for the last decade. But what's the point of bringing him in if you don't use him? Because Altay, I agree with Crookie, he's not good enough.
Yeah, handling very important, especially in his position. Crookmeister, Mike Manuel has been linked with a move to Manchester United in January. Is that something that you can update us on?
Yeah, I think he's one that United are keeping an eye on, along with Chelsea, despite both clubs telling us at the start of the season that the goalkeeping department wasn't a major issue. Obviously, Chelsea tried to sign him before the Club World Cup, had a £25 million bid, rejected. His contract is up at the end of the season, so to get someone of his experience, full French international, 30 years of age, on a free transfer potentially, I think makes a lot of sense for both United and Chelsea. I think he would improve both their goalkeeping departments.
Crook, you also spoke to the United fan this week on Inside Devils, who isn't cutting his hair until Manchester United win 5 games in a row. Whatever happens, you cannot join in on this challenge, okay? Because your hair grows very quickly. Now his is bushy, but if you don't cut your hair until they win 5 in a row, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure we'll fit you in the camera frame.
That's a fair point, and actually, an appointment at the barbers is overdue for me. He could have done 2 games in a row and still be in the same situation. So 5 is ambitious. And actually, if you look at the games, I've mentioned the matches coming up before the international break. The first one back in October is Liverpool away, and then Brighton at home. So I'm not sure he's going to get to 5. To
That's
be honest, I think this is going to carry on.
I mean, there's only Liverpool a Liverpool fan that could say something like that. Anybody else, even Man City and Arsenal, you don't say that. Well, let's have a look in a couple of months.
Let's talk Brentford with Scott Minto. He is Keith Andrews' best pal. So many people have written Keith off, including Crookie, who then decided not to write him off, but now he's going to go back and write him off again. 4 points from 5 games. It's their worst start to a season in 5 campaigns. How concerned are you about them? Because the defensive frailties worry me.
Yeah, and I sort of thought I was, the defensive side would be the better side. It would be more the goals, obviously, with Mbermo and Visser going. But they do seem to be conceding poor goals. It'd be interesting to see whether he goes 5 at the back or whether he goes with a 4. I think he's been very impressive so far, and even to turn around Crookie. I know he's willing to go again, but we know he flip-flops at any given time. But he's seen enough, and I've heard him say that he's been impressed by Keith so far. And there is only so much a manager can do. And I said, just forget the fact of the players that have gone. Anyone following Thomas Frank would struggle, and I say 17th would be a very good position to finish. But to lose who they've lost, plus your captain, your leader, those 2 front players as well, it was always going to be difficult. But this is the time now. This is where the Sunderland defeat and the Fulham defeat were very difficult, because they've got obviously United and City, and then you've got a 2-week stew over. And if he doesn't pick up any points out of those games, then, obviously people will be sharpening their knives. But the season's a long one. Brentford know what they're doing. More importantly, he knows what he's doing, and the Brentford fans just need to be patient.